welcome to the Pipeline and People podcast powered by Versorix, the show where boutique firm leaders trade less admin for more advisory. Each week, we share actionable tactics to keep a client pipeline full and your team performing at its best. I'm your host, Jaden Parisi. Let's dive in. Today, I'm joined by Thomas White and Ruby Gemmel, co-founders of Humanistics, a promise-based accountability firm that's transforming 30 years of professional services IP into scalable AI infrastructure. Thomas, Ruby, welcome. Could you kick us off with a quick look at your background and how you got started with, Humanistics?
All right. Ruby?
Sure. So I started off as a technologist long ago and began developing systems for companies that were on time and on budget but didn't solve their problem. And since that time, I've become obsessed with defining the problem because it's a combination of the way people work together and the systems they use. But everybody's trying to fix problems with just systems up until now. So my background has been in just really learning and researching and understanding how people actually work together and finding ways to make that visible because they change their behavior as soon as they see it.
That's great. Thomas?
I am a multiple serial entrepreneur, started 20 plus companies, and always is solving a problem that seems unsolvable. And Ruby and I met a long time ago when I was on the beginning edge of this, which is looking how people work together. And people's ability to work together is very difficult. How often are we disappointed? How often are we surprised? And we seem to have no reason for either of those, and we don't know how to fix it. So there was a discovery 70 years ago that the way we work together in language, the way we speak to each other, one of the key elements is requests we make of each other, promises we make in response to those requests, and offers and promises we make as well. If you just look at that very simple structure, you can see so much that's going on that's mostly hidden. Ruby and I rejoined about a year ago, and my first, still today, is to learn how she was able to take what we started so long ago and turn it into something that was so much more than we thought. And then today, how do we take that and create technology that makes that impact scalable?
Okay, amazing. And then, a client comes to you and says, we want help. We want Humanistics. What do you guys do? What would you say to them? Who's it built for?
So we start with, start where they are. So what we're doing is not bringing some prescription in or some, new methodology. We're revealing how they're actually working together today. Mm-hmm. And that's often jaw-dropping because we don't coordinate and organize and help each other as a network of people working together. It's more like a bunch of tasks that get done and they become slightly disconnected, and then that causes the result to drift from what you really wanted to have happen. So when we go into work with an organization, what we do is make a visual very quickly of how people are currently working together and where it's broken and where it works well, based on the story of the people doing the work, not the executives, not the process diagrams on the shelf, but what people tell us. We make a visual as they tell us how they're really working together. And it surfaces a lot of root cause problems. I find in every engagement, almost everyone, that people report that more than half of their time is wasted on miscommunication and miscoordination and misaligned priorities and rework. And that's what this reveals, why that's happening. And we've just accepted that a good portion of our time gets wasted with those things. They're just messy human problems that you can't see until you reveal the organizational operating system like we do. And then once people see how they're messing with each other, and they don't mean to, the intent is not to make each other miserable at work, but they can't see how they fit together really until they see it. And that's how we work with them. And that's how the problems get solved. Sometimes spontaneously and sometimes strategically.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's a very overlooked issue. People don't talk about that. I'm curious.
Before you go on, let me tell you something, how big an issue this is.
Okay.
Gallup and other organizations have surveyed globally. It's a $7 trillion a year problem. $7 trillion.
That miscoordination, miscommunication. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can see how. I'm just curious, how does AI fit into that process in your services?
That's a really great question. So we didn't know the answer either. when we started. We had intuition, and
Yeah.
we had intuition it could do certain things that we thought were big labor issues for us in the work, but this is far outstripped what we thought. First, you have to train it. People think you have the standard AI models and you use ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, but you can take what we do, which is take a basic model and train it for this 30 plus years of experience, not just experience what we know, but what our clients have experienced. And then we will see, oh, there's even more here. And we're able to expand what we understood about how this operates because we had AI to be able to help us not only see it, but to keep track of it and organize it so people could understand it. So then we use AI as a way to analyze, understand, and even use standard things. Like, for instance, so many people use project plans, right? Why is it most projects don't get delivered on time and they're always over budget and they're not exactly what you want? We have the answer to that. So the answer is because we're working at the wrong level. We're working at tasks. But tasks have nothing to do with the commitments we're making. If you then organize a task around the commitments, you're going to manage it much differently. And we've just recently created an application that takes a standard project plan and converts it into what the commitments are that are behind that, and what's hidden that are the vulnerabilities you can't see.
Interesting. Do you have an example that you could share with me to help better understand that process?
Sure. So we took an example of a technology project. Like, we're going to build a SaaS application, and there's hundreds of tasks associated with that. And we put it through the lens of, let's look at it as the organizational operating system commitments. Looking through that lens, take those 500 tasks and provide an overview of the human commitments that should be happening and maybe aren't. What's missing? And it's not about who's going to do what, but it's more about for whom. Who needs to be satisfied with that work? I can check it off my list. Yep, I did that thing. But if it's not, you're the next person that gets it or has to work with that product, and it's not what you were expecting, then the project's not going to happen the way we wanted it to. So it's looking at not only who's doing it, but for whom are they doing that work, and have the two of you really become clear about what the result you're really after is. And that's the missing thing. So we took the 500 commitments. It comes out to the 500 tasks, it comes out to about 10 commitments to be managed. Those are the conversations and the relationships that are going to make a difference if your project drifts or is done on time or even better than anybody expected. Because those human relationships are the difference in everybody checking their boxes versus we're still talking, we're still aligned. Yes, this happened, because things are going to change, and that the relationship is what causes the alignment. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. That's incredibly fascinating. And so when you train this AI model, is it something internally that you use to produce the output, or is it something that you go into a business and you'll create this model and train it based on their organization and then kind of hand it off?
So what I found over all these, doing hundreds of these projects for dozens of different industries, is there's one thing they all have in common. Human beings are trying to get something done together.
Yeah.
And that's where it's the same. It doesn't matter if you're making widgets or rockets. It's, or you're selling services or providing services. People need to work together to produce the result. It's never just like one person. And we lose sight of that, and we lose sight of who's really providing the service. So in a lot of organizations, the bottom of the org chart is where the customer service rep lives, right? At the very bottom. But when you look at it through the lens of commitments, they're right at the center of everything, because they're who's talking to the customer. They've got the intel of what's really happening in the most important relationship in the company. So we kind of put the org chart on its side, because that's how customers experience the organization, usually along the very bottom of the org chart. And we want to focus on, what are we really delivering here? And it isn't strategic plans, and it's like whatever we're promising as a company, whatever service we're promising is what we're delivering. And that's what the focus should be. And so the work shifts the viewpoint of what's important also.
Yeah, absolutely. And this, hearing about what you do and how you do it is very fascinating to me because it's like, oh, yeah, that makes complete sense. Why isn't everyone doing this,
I have the same question.
Is this
So we've been working on this for a long time, and every time the customer gets really a bespoke project, they're like, "Oh my God, we can't believe it!" And one of the things I think is important because you mentioned earlier is for people when they see the impact of what they're doing through this perspective, and they often see that what they're doing is hindering someone else. Their first response is, how can I fix that? Not to defend themselves, because nobody wants to cause somebody else difficulty, but we don't know it. So when you're realizing that we all do this because we're basically blind, and once you can see, you have a new way to do it, people are very incentivized personally to have this work well. So you change the command and control structure to everybody owns the outcome, and they can see where they fit and the value they bring to this. So it changes the whole engagement, worker satisfaction, meaningfulness conversation.
It brings more meaning to the work because they see how they're really connected to the result, and that's really important. And I've had people in workshops literally like stand up and apologize to the room, like, I can see how I just was like a cog and I didn't get it. I thought I was protecting something, or, and it's really moving. And I've literally had leaders come to tears when they saw how people were really working. They're like, "See, this isn't true."
Wow.
And yes, it is, because it's so how we work is often really just silly when you see it the way that when you show it visually. One of my very first projects was with a big technology company, and they wanted us to build a database for their R&D process, all their ideas. And I asked, well, I want to do this study and see how you really work together. They were not very open to that. We're not going to spend 6 months. I just need 2 weeks. Give me 2 weeks, and I'm going to work out how you're actually working together, and then we'll build the application to do that. Came back with my visual of how they're actually working, had it up on the wall, and this director was so resistant. He was late to the meeting. I'm in a room full of people that had worked on this, and he comes in late and looks at what's on the screen and is kind of a jerk about it. "Hey, I turn on the light. Who the hell designed that? That's never going to work." And everybody in the room just put their head down, because that was their current process he was asking us to automate.
Yeah. Found the problem.
Yeah.
Just walked in the
I'm
room
like,
late.
I am on to something so incredible here, because that's the result. And then I decided to go where, who might not be interested in this, requesting and agreeing, and the whole little commitments. And so I started doing this work in the Navy, and it was very successful there too, because these commanders could see what they couldn't see. And they only have 2 years. They get a position and they're in it for 2 years. So you get a commander and show them, like, this is what your command is doing, how they're working. They'd be like, "Oh, target rich environment. I don't want to keep doing that." So it's really proven to be useful. But again, it was all bespoke projects. Now with AI, we can feed it a project plan and get a map out. And that's so the time from inputting information to being able to come up with a really valid, actionable diagnostic is compressed from weeks to a day.
Wow. It's
Just to take your question earlier about how do you then scale this with AI, because that's the second part of this, right? Because doing these one at a time, a small number of people will get access to this. So we take the intelligence that we've learned with an AI engine, and then make this capability available to other application developers. Think about Salesforce or SAP or other companies had this capability to have this invisible world be visible to people relative to the actions they're taking. So it's a way for us to have broad access and availability to people without having to do it one at a time.
Okay. So do you plan on kind of creating like a software or a product out of this?
Yes. We're going to create applications, really, or more demonstrations of what's possible. For instance, the application of taking a project plan in and giving you what you can't see. It's a simple app. It's not going to be our bread and butter, but it's a way for some other application developers to say, oh, if I plug this into my app, for instance, take Smartsheets. This is an example. They do a lot of work. So what if they added a capability to verify or validate the plan you've got to show you blind spots? We can do that instantly with the technology we have, and that's the technology we have today. And we're growing this capability so that we can make this available to any application developer that's building AI for human interactions.
It's very fascinating to see, coming from doing this for, 30 plus years to now doing it as a service with AI to now trying to give it to these developers, like that kind of just so fast progression, and you guys being able to pivot so well and kind of know where you're going. Do you have any kind of advice on how to keep up and know where to go?
One of the things is I think is probably true for anybody is be honest with yourself. One of the greatest challenges I see with business people is you are caught up in your sales conversation rather than your truth. One of the reasons I say that is because part of what we show people is what's so, not what you want it to be, we hope it to be, but what is. And once we get to that level of just honesty with ourselves, we can do so much more.
I like that. That's someone should quote that.
I agree. I agree. The thing for me is this work has been so fulfilling for all these years because of the change that it makes in the people that are affected. And that's not necessarily, that's the executives, but also the frontline people. I'm so touched by how much frontline people know, how much they have to contribute, and how little they're listened to. And this is also a way to bring their voice to the table. And then the work is more fulfilling for everyone. And so I'd love to see this technology used everywhere because it really enables the voice of everyone.
Absolutely. If you don't mind me asking, do you have like a team of developers, or did you guys kind of learn this yourself? Like what's the process look like?
Well, it's a little of both, actually. We had to learn what was possible with AI. AI is a new thing in general. So we spent the first 6 or 8 months just learning what's possible here. And then we've been very fortunate to have developed a partnership with a world-class development team who is really can take and they have experience with doing exactly what we want to do, which is scale technology with partnerships. And they've done this many times very successfully. And those companies they've worked with have all been sold for very large numbers. So that's totally key. You're absolutely right. So so we have we have what we do, and we have what they do, and we have other things we need to add to the mix now. But yeah,
we're very excited about our technology partners. It's such a big variable, and we feel like we're in the lottery with that. So.
Yeah, no, that's great. Where do you see Humanistics then in 12 months compared to right now?
I see that you'll start seeing applications that use and integrate our technology, say powered by Humanistics, popping up in lots of places, particularly places you didn't expect. We're going to be ready with our engine to start showing these companies by the 1st of next year. And so, and the integration is easy. It's not like because we operate with this simple orientation we can, they can simply access services from that engine and they can immediately get value. I think one of the things we surprised us about AI is how little you need to give it for it to give you back a lot of value, a lot of observations you couldn't have. So these people will get something that they can add to their product mix, which is really will be easy to do. And then they can grow it from there.
And practical. This is very practical stuff.
Absolutely. What was it, $7 trillion industry?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get that from being impractical. So.
And not industry. That's the the dollars in waste from that problem. That's not the industry. No, that is the amount of money that is tossed away every year globally on miscoordination, miscommunication, rework, and misaligned priorities. It's astounding. But it if you've ever worked in a large company or talked to somebody that worked in a large company, they'll tell you all about it. Like, I worked all weekend and then they didn't use it and this and that. And everybody feels it. But regardless of all the technology that's been done, all the different Six Sigma, we still have the same problem. And between 55 and 70% of people, depending on the year, are miserable with their jobs. I think those two things are related.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every leader we've talked to, I mean, every one of them, we say that about 50% of your efforts in your organization is wasted. Say at least that is their answer.
Yeah, they'll go more than that.
So imagine that. They're living in a state of resignation that anything's possible to be done about it. What if they start seeing some results that actually do something about it?
And that's why AI was so necessary.
For sure. And
We're really going to make a difference. Yeah.
I look forward to seeing that powered by Humanistics.
Thank you.
All right. Gonna do a quick wrap up here. So, Thomas, Ruby, thank you so much for joining. This was a great episode, very, very thought provoking for me personally. Where can people find you if they want to follow your work or reach out or any of the above?
Humanistics.ai. I find us there.
Great. And then obviously you can look them up on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
If the episode sparks something, share it with a founder or advisor thinking about the leap from services to scale. Until next time, I'm Jaden Parisi. This is the Pipeline and People podcast.